Hello and welcome to our Automotive Leaders Winning Cultures webcast. I'm Sean Kelly, and today we're getting insights from a dealership owner with perhaps one of the hottest brands in the business, a brand that not a single dealer has any inventory for and is taking orders out about 6 months in advance, is what I hear. I'm speaking of Subaru, of course. Our guest is the owner of Subaru of Bend, Oregon, the Mr. Matt Thomas. Matt, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
So first, it looks like you're a little bit of a duck fan and have been in the car business since you got out of college. Is that the case?
Yeah, that's the case. I'm my family's all my dad, my brothers, uncles, we've all went to University of Oregon, so kind of a duck fan.
Very cool. Well, before we get into the current state of the business, why don't you tell us a little bit about your automotive background? You got out of college, and how did you dive into the car business?
Well, I kind of got into car business pretty much the day I was born. My grandfather started our company in 1937, and I was born in 61. They didn't have daycares back then, so I pretty much grew up on the showroom floor and started washing cars and sweeping floors and emptying garbage. Pretty much every day after school, unless I was out for a sport, you're working. And went to University of Oregon and was going in accounting. Thought I might make sure I was going to do that and not get in the car business. So I went down to San Diego for a year, sold cars for Mira Mesa Dodge, Rose Toyota, and then actually worked for Phil Mossy at his very first Nissan store. Went there with my crew from Rose Toyota, and we just blew that store up. I had a good time to business. Went back to college and realized that you don't make that much money working for Xerox, back then in the early 80s. So I got in the car business, been in it ever since. My dad bought his father out, and then my brother and I bought our dad out in 1995. We had a Dodge Chrysler Plymouth Subaru franchise, and my dad had grown from a small town in Madras up to Bend, Oregon, and we had Jaguar, British Leyland, Land Rover, Saab, Renault, and he took on Subaru in 1973. So next year I'll be our 50th anniversary of Subaru. So I've been selling those since when you couldn't sell them, and it's been a long run. I bought my brother out in 2018 because I need to build a new Subaru store in Bend, and it's pretty big project, a lot of money. My brother didn't feel like he wanted to go into debt, this close to retirement. So I bought him out, and here I am. Building a store during a pandemic is quite the challenge,
Well, your success and longevity with Subaru is definitely awe-inspiring, and I love what you said there. You definitely have to take some degree of risk as it relates to growing your business. Is that so? Tell us, is that the room you're in? Is that your temporary your office for now? Is that what's going on?
Yeah, I'm in a temporary office. It's actually the first time I started running our companies 1984, and I got out of college, and I it's the first time I've had windows in my office. I don't need a office. I had a closet usually, to have meetings in, but I'm pretty much on the go all the time. I run my store a little different than most people. We were Dodge dealers forever, and in 2009, it was our 72nd year in business. When they went through the bankruptcies, the government took my dealership from me and my brother, and tried to break us. I don't know. We were in the top 5 in the Northwest from a small community. I outsold pretty much almost everybody in Portland, Seattle. We only had, maybe 60,000 people in our market. They got 2 million, And I guess I just am not known to be a yes man with the manufacturer. We kind of got in a beef with Dave Smith and them wholesaling cars through him. And I think that's why they took it. I don't know, but we just went down to Subaru at that point. And so it was a pretty tough point in my life. I had to fire 85 people overnight. And I've been, I've been through a lot of recessions, wars, terrorist attacks. What we're going through right now is a totally different deal, with not being able to get product. I mean, my whole life, they've been stuffing product down your throat, especially when I worked for Chrysler, because Chrysler was always in a crisis. And I don't remember a day that they weren't calling me, hammering me, selling me cars, So I was always good at getting rid of them, but I can't get cars, and it's a whole new deal. We're at 85 years in business this year, and I'm not going to mark the cars up, So it's kind of, some dealers are, I mean, that's something you got to guess.
Hey, Matt,
as a dealer.
I definitely want to get into the current inventory situation and how you're dealing with it and what decisions you've made there and why you've made them. Definitely want to get into that. Before we do, I'd like to highlight some of the successes that you've had throughout your career. You mentioned you blew up the store. You mentioned that you were able to, you're building a whole new Subaru building now. Can I ask, what are your top 3 ways, if you don't mind me asking, how have you achieved so much success? When you blew up that dealership with some of your team members in the past, how did you do it? And how have you reached the level of success you have now? Give us your top 3 tips as a dealer.
Well, number one's people, obviously. And I don't like to hire people that have a lot of experience. I like to hire people that have drive, motivation, and morals. I can teach them all the skills. I don't try and hire high level people because I don't really want anyone to tell me how to run my store. And I let my people run them. I don't have a general manager. I don't have a used car manager. I'm actually a car dealer that actually am a car dealer. I don't manage my dealership from a golf course. I know what's going on in all my departments every day. We, have weekly meetings, but it's kind of, I think people's number one and actually working. I mean, with the right people and being in the dealership, I like what I do. It comes natural for me, and I have my guys' backs. They have mine, and I don't know if there's 3 things. I don't even think the franchise matters. I mean, I could sell at a Yugo. It doesn't matter. I mean, Chrysler was the worst car you could buy, like most of my career. I don't know if you ever sold a K car or anything, or
I did
an
not.
Omni, or Valiant, but I mean, it's I've always been an underdog sales guy, and I just like the business,
That's cool. No, I respect what you're saying, and it's so interesting how you're almost the opposite of a lot of dealers in the fact that you like to be really involved in the business. You like to manage it yourself. That's definitely a rare thing. And I'm sure it makes a positive impact for you and your team. And what made you decide to go that route versus trying to find a way to get yourself out of the business?
Well, I have 4 kids. I got a son that's working with me right now. I have a kid in college over in Europe, and he's coming back. He'll come back eventually. And you could be a mega dealer this, mega dealer that, and if I run what I have well, how much money do you need? I mean, you can still buy jets and yachts and all that stuff on 2 or 3 car dealerships if you run them right. But my dad started a first dealer 20 group in for Dodge back in the late 60s, 70s. And so I've been going to 20 meetings my entire life. And I pretty much run, I look at the numbers and I know the numbers inside and out. And that's why I'm teaching my kids. And, I look at these guys with all these stores and these great big stores, and, I'll sell a third the vehicles and net twice as much money. So they have to have a lot more stores. I just need to have a couple that run right. And then, if my kids want to take the company and take it to 100 years, great. But, I figured they got another 3 to 5 years of me, teaching them. And I'm always, I'm always into looking at a financial statement and telling them what they're doing wrong, because that's what my dad did with me my whole life. I don't think he ever told me I did anything right. So maybe that's how I'll train my kids.
There's so much value in candor, right? And being able to be brutally honest about, the saying, people lie, but numbers don't. I love that you manage by the numbers. I also I respect the way that you hire. You're hiring for motivation and values, like personal values, and looking for people that are a good fit. And then also the what you said earlier too. I think I was lucky enough to be, whenever the whole economy tanked back in 07, 08 timeframe. I guess I was at a Ford store then, so we probably got positively impacted by what was going on, because Ford didn't take the buyout. You've
Right.
You've battled through some serious adversity and survived. And the same sun that melts wax hardens clay. It seems like you've definitely become stronger and better as a result of these challenges. I did want to ask you, especially with the pandemic, no one could have expected that coming. And I know Oregon had some fairly tough measures, maybe not as strict as your neighbor to the south in California. But I'd be curious, how did you handle some of these crises over time? The situation with Dodge and the situation with COVID. How did you handle that from an operations and personnel perspective?
My philosophy, my father's philosophy always has been, I've normally made more money in a recession or a war than I have during good times. Good times, everyone's paying too much, paying employees too much, and we've always kind of crimped down on it. And during the pandemic, my 20 group were on, and they go, "Well, Thomas, what are you going to do?" And I go, I'm not going to change a fucking thing. I'm working every goddamn day. I'm not shut down a store. I go, the government wants to pay 100% of all my shit, then they can have the store, But I go, I got 110 families that need to make their rent payment, feed their kids, and put them through school, and I go, I'm just not stopping. I decided to pull the trigger on the dealership the first week of March. And in March, it was, they hadn't shut down the country yet. So thank you, darling. And so we just powered through it. Kind of like, it was very difficult when they took my Dodge store, because, I had to fire most of my crew. We went down to 30 people, and guys have been with me 25 years. I've had guys with me 34 years, 32 years, which kind of rare in the car business. But that's kind of what we did. And you just, I think if you don't have a positive attitude when you come to work every day, then you shouldn't be coming to work. So I think my team, it's just 100% balls out. If the government wanted me to shut down, I wouldn't have shut down. There's just no way.
I love it, man. You're a free man, and I love that. I'm a special operations combat veteran myself, so I'm big on freedom and Constitution, and I respect where you're coming from. And what else that you touched on earlier is, it sounds like you're willing to stand up for your business and the way you do things, regardless of what kind of the OEMs pushing you to do. Do you feel like that has been I guess, helped you succeed, or do you feel like that's caused you more difficulties as far as that goes? Standing up for yourself as it relates to OEM.
Yeah, I mean, after getting in a battle with, with Chrysler, back in shit, I think it was 1993 when Dave Smith got that huge allocation. Bruce Walker left the zone because he created this deal and then gave him a bunch of cars. Bruce Walker's the one that actually created Dave Smith, and the rest of us are like, I'm the kind of guy and saying, hey, this guy's in a population 2,000 selling 500 cars a month. He couldn't do that without my capital investment, the capital investment of every other Dodge dealer in the Northwest or the country by the time he started going out there. And it's like, why should that guy be able to sell 10 times the population in his whole county every 6 months? He couldn't do it if it wasn't for the capital investment from me and the rest of the dealer body. Dodge couldn't do it if it wasn't for me and the rest of the dealer body. And they were just pumping cars into him, and he was, blowing them out super cheap. And, that's his prerogative. But the pricing structure and the volume structure didn't meet the basic fundamentals of a capitalistic society, which is supply and demand. I mean, Chrysler just opened the floodgate and just wholesaled cars through this guy out in the middle of nowhere in Idaho. He couldn't have done it if I didn't have trained technicians fix that car, and I didn't have parts, and I didn't know what I was doing, and the rest of my dealer body. So I was really pissed off. And a group of us got together in Montana. It wasn't just me; it was a whole group. And I fought back on that. I think that's why they took my dealership. What is that? 20 years later, or whatever. Because I'm not a yes man, brown noser. I mean, if I'm getting screwed by a OEM, I'm going to tell them. And you say, hey, what the hell are you guys doing? Cutting my guy's labor rate in half on this warranty job just because you guys fucked up. They could be, working on something else. And so I've kind of always stood up for the dealer. That's why I've never been, manufacturers never wanted me on dealer council or the ad association or anything, because I'm going to tell you like it is. I'm not going to say one thing mean another. And if somebody is in these high positions, they don't like being critiqued, and that's how I run my company. I mean, my detailers, I have an open door. It's like, you guys need to tell me when I'm screwing up because I may not know it. Right. Mm-hmm. And I go, I'd rather have you push back on one of my ideas than to follow through with it. And so when I've gone into these, recessions, lost my dealership, I mean, I fired everybody. It was very, very hard for me because I've been doing real estate my whole life because I can do it by myself without employees. And thank God for that. I went to work like 4 years, and the only days I took off was if I had to go to a meeting somewhere. I had to build my company back. I mean, you lost 80%. I wasn't going to go down. There's just no way. Yeah. I mean, I can work harder and smarter than anybody, and I think because I learn from my mistakes, or I try to. That's why I've been divorced twice. I'm not getting married again. I will not make that same mistake. I got a bad picker when it comes to that.
Well,
I got 4 great kids.
No, that's good, Matt. Thank you for sharing those things. And so I'm going to add, so you've got your people, you've got being heavily involved in the business and managing by the numbers, and then also open communication. People, sounds like you look for people on your team to share feedback, give honest feedback, and also you're willing to take a stand for your business. And you even said it earlier, man, it doesn't matter what I'm selling, but we can sell, as long as there's cars to sell, we can sell those. So why not partner with an OEM that you really enjoy working with and that adds value and sees you as an asset rather than someone to kind of control? I respect those mindsets, man. I really do. Because a lot of dealers, I see them just, buying programs that the OEM's forcing down their throat, and, and then at this point, especially, what are you getting back? I'd be interested in asking how all these changes have affected your Harley business, with the current, with everything that
Well,
happened.
I think it says Harley in there. Jake put that in. So what we did is we became the newest Shelby Tuscany dealer, and we sell the Harley Davidson truck. It's a custom product and the Black Ops. And so I don't have a motorcycle store. I mean, we did in the 60s and early 70s. We were Honda dealers, but I haven't been in the motorcycle business. It's just a Harley trucks. I don't know. It's like you talk about manufacturers. I brought Hyundai to Central Oregon in like 98 or 99 and trying to sell that product. And the guys in Portland are big market. Like I said, they got a couple million people over there. And they had a built-in $1,500 price advantage with the big dealers. Well, I'm out in the middle of nowhere. It's 3 hours get to the nearest place to buy a car from where I live. If you look at Oregon, I'm right in the middle of the state. I don't know if I should be saying this, but it doesn't really rain. I like everyone to think it rains every day, but 3/4 of the state's a desert. And I live on that side of the state. Right at the base of the mountain range, Cascades. It's a beautiful country. Californians flooding in here. I mean, now they're flooding from everywhere, but it's those guys having a $1,500 advantage with me. And, I mean, there's no way I could sell 100 new. I'd have to sell every new car sold. And so I went through that, thought I could figure out a way around it. I dicked with it for about 8 years, and then I sold to the Smoliches. I got rid of it because it just, it was, I didn't like the business model at all. I thought I could make some money with it, but no margins, $650 on a, $28,000 car, is something that, I don't want to gouge my customers. I don't want to mark them up. I mean, my company's in a marathon. We're not in a sprint. And that's why I'm not I'm not bumping the prices now, is because my community, I've been here 85 years. This thing will correct itself eventually. And I don't want people in my community to think I took advantage of them during that period of time, So
Yeah.
I'm not selling cars to anyone from outside my community. If you don't live in Central Oregon, because I can't get enough cars from my community, I won't sell them to people in Portland, Seattle. They try buying them from us because there's dealers up there marking them up. And I'm like, no, I'm saving them for my customers. Sorry. You live in Seattle, You're not going to service a new building, and, so it's a community deal, I guess. I mean, I like my community, and I support it. And I think, you can't just take, you got to get back. And that's kind of been our family philosophy, and it's worked fine so far,
That's amazing. The community first thing, and there are so many dealers that are doing the market adjustments, and there are some that are giving local, their local customers a break, and then there's some that are, in charging the market adjustment to outsiders. But I mean, you're taking it as far as even reserve the vehicles for your community, man. I hope you're. Well, I mean, tell me what are you doing to market that to your community to ensure they know, because I think that definitely is giving you an upper hand in the current environment. Correct me if
Yeah,
I'm
I mean, it's a catch-22 for me. I've had my marketing people, on my ass, and it's like, we're doing, I'll sponsor some events right now just to, keep our name in the community. And then, we have ads that just say, hey, we're here to, buy local and sell local. We're not marking our cars up, but we really haven't pushed it because I have 190 sold orders, and I'm not really pushing. I have 190 sold orders at Subaru, and last time I looked at 143 at the Ford store. And you know, I, I just, we have reputation and word of mouth as your best salesman. And I, I haven't been marketing or advertising because I don't want them to come in to buy a car that I can't sell them, hey, come on in and, you got to order a car, so, we do that, at the sales office level. And I haven't really marketed that out. I think once we start getting some inventory again, then at that point, I'm going to start, we'll start that marketing campaign. What we did do during the pandemic, we kept the cars for our locals and we didn't mark them up. And the Portland market's a brutal market. I've been in it my whole life, and I've been in 20 groups from everybody from around the United States of America. And the Portland market has always been one of the most bastardized markets in the United States. I mean, I've had dealers from all over. I don't care if it's LA, Orlando, Chicago, New York, Portland. They just, they were selling Subarus at 1,000 back of invoice, and you couldn't even get them. Wow. And I'm like, the hell's wrong with you guys? Like I'd see them at meetings, I'm not trying to price fix, but it's like, the hell's wrong with you? I mean, you're selling them for back of invoice and holdback. I mean, shit, I'll buy them from you,
Right. It's almost like they don't understand supply and demand.
Yeah. So my hope is through this pandemic, to be honest with you, if there's a bright side of it, to me, my company and my business here in Oregon, just because we have these people in Portland that just they don't, I don't know if they don't like their product, or I don't know if they have a bad service and parts or bad people. I mean, I don't know why they sell, it's okay to make a profit, and if you're not taking care of the customer, then maybe you have to discount, but if you build value, I mean, I learned how to sell cars in the late 70s at 22% interest. And, I actually sold the car. I mean, I could sell a K car to anybody. I mean, to this day, I could do a walk around a K car and make you love that car because it was, it was kind of a piece of shit. But that's all I had to sell, right? So I got to figure out how to sell it. And so it's always, build value in the company, the dealership, yourself as a salesperson, yourself as a management team. And, if you're selling price, you're not going to work for me. I mean, but I can't control, most of the market. That's what they do. They just sell price. And they forget about the customer, the salesman, themselves, their mechanics, I mean, what they've done what they do for the customer after they buy the car. I mean, that's where the value is, and if you're not selling that, then yeah, you probably have to give them away. But I'm going to be here after they buy the car. I'm not going to run from them. I don't have 5 other Subaru dealers in my market or 10 other Subaru dealers,
Yeah. Now, your ability to, I think this is so critical for anyone who faces customers in the automotive space, right? Is like, what do you do differently than everyone else? And like, why should I buy from you versus everyone else? And if your people can answer that question and show the customer how you stand apart, then you're building enough value where they'll choose to go with you. You had mentioned something earlier, Matt, I wanted to touch on. You said, you kind of said like usually during tough situations and market situations, crashes, you've been able to profit. At what point did you realize, yet at the same token, you're profiting, yet you're not charging those crazy market adjustments. So at what point did you realize that there was a chance to increase revenue, maybe even set revenue records now? And how are you doing it without those crazy market adjustments? I mean, the orders so many orders.
Yeah. I mean, we've done it. I have a great crew. I mean, my sales manager is incredible. He's a year older than me. He grew up in the Monterey market and knew the same people I did. I'd worked in the Bay Area as well during college. and he sells cars the way I do. It's like, hey, we're going to build value, and uh, we're going to take the trade-ins right, and it's like, our guys know how to add gross. I mean, if they're at MSRP and I hit a car for 10 grand, and they want to add another $2,000, and they need to take a car in for 8,000, and I pay them on underallowance. And so the whole mindset of our company is, we started in 1937, and now I'm the oldest Subaru dealer on the West Coast, United States. I think Nate Wayne in Salt Lake's the closest one to me that's been in the business as long as my family, and so we use that. I think I might be the oldest new car franchisee in the state of Oregon now. Haven't messed with that, but I'm just, I'm selling Subarus, and I'm selling Ford trucks because I did get screwed by Chrysler, and so we pushed a Ford product because they didn't take the money, and they were always my competition. I had a 47% full size market share in Bend, Oregon with Dodge as one Dodge dealer. I had 4 General Motors, 1 GMC, 3 Chevy dealers, and 4 Ford dealers in my market. And I had 47% with one store. And that was because, and this Northwest is Ford country. But I sold Dodge because that's all I had to sell. And I get behind my product, and the saying, make chicken salad out of chicken shit. That's kind of how I live my life. I mean, I don't really have a choice. I think any franchise can be the number one in any market if you believe in it and you believe in yourself, and you run a good business. People will buy a car they don't want based on the reputation of the dealer they're buying it from. I mean, we used to, Toyota and Honda have never outsold me since 1984 in car sales. I mean, they, like, let's take a normal year, like let's take 19, for instance, they sold 1,400 and some Toyotas. I sold 1,200 and some Subarus, but I got 6 models. They have 27. They have 2 trucks. 65% of their sales is trucks. Okay. And so if you do the math, they sell twice as many cars. And that's not counting their 5 SUVs and all the other bullshit. I mean, Toyota or Honda's never come close to outselling Subaru in this market. I mean, the Subaru's been number one in this market for, 35 years. Even when we had, less than desirable Subarus, which I've sold a lot of.
You're a master of battling through adversity and playing the hand you're dealt. I appreciate that.
You got to.
I agree with you, man. And what's interesting too is your team. As you're talking about how you've been able to capitalize on the current market situation, regardless, without jacking up the MSRPs, and I have a few stores where that I coach and consult for, where they do have pretty hefty market adjustments. And it's interesting how the team at those stores, and again, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, like what's right for your store and right for the one in a different state, in a different market. But bottom line is, like, the teams at those stores, sometimes the salespeople and the managers have a hard time living with it. They feel like they're taking their customers out of the market, and that they're creating, they're hearing feedback from the customers like, I can't believe you guys are doing this to us, highway robbery sort of thing. I believe that a sales team has to really believe in the product, the culture, and the business for them to succeed long term. So I would wager the morale of your team is probably pretty high, the way the way you've chosen to do business right now. Is that safe to say?
Oh no, absolutely. I mean, like, these guys are, you you say the speed of the captain, speed of the ship. Well, my team's a can-do team, and there's just there's no failure is going to happen at this dealership, and we're going to do whatever it takes to make a deal, to take care of the customer. And more than that, I mean, I tell these people, I go, I don't want to sell you a car. I want to sell you 10 cars over the next 25 years, and I don't really sell cars at the dealership. I go, I service cars, because no matter what I sold it to you for, if I can't take care of you back in my service department, if I don't have the parts or the trained people, and I can't get you in and out, I can't fix it right the first time, you'll buy another product. And that's how I steal products from sales from other people, because we do stand behind that. I mean, we're actually a service company more than a sales company. And I told an old man the other day, he's buying a car, and I thanked him and everything. And I looked at him, he's about 80 years old. I go, I'm going to guarantee you. I go, I'm going to make you a guarantee. He moved up here from California. I go, that Outback? I go, it's a hell of a nice car. I've been selling it my whole life. I go, my family's going to make you a promise. I promise your car is going to break. And the guy looks at me. He's like, what do you mean my car's going to break? It's a Subaru. I go, well, they built 7 space shuttles, $3.5 billion a piece, and 2 of them blew up. And you're buying a $38,000 car. I promise you, with the 36 computers in that car, it's going to break. I go, I could lie to you and say, hey, Subarus never break. I go, but that's why I'm building this big shop back here, is because I want to take care of you after you buy the car, is what's going to bring you back to me, not what I sell to you for. And so it's a different mentality of running a business, I guess. I mean, I haven't jumped ship to 10 different dealerships, and I don't hire people that jump ship.
There's no fear in your approach, and there's just that honesty, and that comes through in your engagements with your customers and your team. And so now that we're kind of talking about the here and now, I know, like, we have ridiculously high gas prices, and Bend is no stranger to the problem. I heard your gas price were pretty high as well. How has that affected your sales, and how does your staff explain to customers why those gas prices are so high, and also why you guys can't give them a discount under MSRP right now? Like, how are you guys explaining that to your customers?
Well, we haven't really had we haven't had much talk from the customers coming back about gas prices. Subaru uses a CVT transmission, so our automatic gets better gas mileage than a stick shift. And so they kind of know where the Subaru brand is in itself. And we really haven't had pushback on that. I mean, the amazing thing for me about what's going on in our auto industry is this electrification deal has me, I'm a geopolitical guy. I've been in politics my whole life. I've been to DC so many times I couldn't tell you. And you have these guys wanting to electrify our system. Well, I'm here to tell you that we don't mine one of the precious metals it takes to make a battery in North America. Most of the critical components come from China and Russia, and then China bought the cobalt mine down in Africa, and so they got to dig up 340,000 yards of earth for every single battery from around the world, and ship it someplace, have a process, and ship it to put it into a battery, and then ship it to put it in a car. And the carbon footprint of an electric car not only is ridiculous, you can't look at it, and then you got hazardous waste in 6 years. I mean, and what are you going to do? And how are you going to make all these batteries? There ain't no way. Jake and I, every time they come out with a new model, I got to buy a different plug-in charger. Right now, there's 14 different charging plugs for all these electric cars, and they plan on coming out with 50 or 100 more. Like, how many chargers are you going to have to carry around? Or I it makes no sense to me. I mean, I don't. They're trying to ram it down our throat, but you're going to have our transportation system at the mercy of China and Russia. I mean, why don't they go fuel cell? Or why don't they go natural gas? Or, I mean, there's so many ways to fix the situation without doing something as drastic as changing the entire fleet. I mean, California, they want you to drive an electric car, but you cannot get a permit to put a charging station in your garage. So what the hell?
But it's funny you said that. We actually
makes no sense.
Two of my team members are actually at a California dealer now, and they're a little independent store, but she wants to become the she actually wants to become the premier EV dealership for her community, but she can't do it without those charging stations. And then you got to decide, like, which ones do you go with? It's funny, the government will regulate like the height of doorknobs on doors, right? Like that's uniform. It's so interesting that they're not taking that same approach with the EV chargers. I couldn't agree more. I think it's a business. It's not a scalable situation at all right now, and it's definitely a disaster. Totally interesting. What do you think?
Well, you would have thought they'd have learned from the cell phones, right? We came out with cell phones. How many different goddamn chargers are there for cell phones? Well, right now there's, I think, 11 or 14 different chargers for electric cars. Okay, so you're going to build charging stations across the road. You're going to build 14 of every single, it doesn't, I don't know how these people come up with this crap, to be honest with you. I really don't. It's amazing. I don't get it.
So keep your Nostradamus hat on for me for just a moment, because this is great. It's interesting hearing your perspective. A lot of people that we interview for our webcast, Matt, are kind of like, oh yeah, the changeover is going to happen and we'll adapt and we'll sell EVs. I'm getting some, do you feel like it's even possible for this changeover to occur?
There is no way. Take Oregon, for instance. We have the largest lithium deposit in North America on the border of Oregon and Nevada, which is why Musk built that battery plant down there. Mm-hmm. So Oregon's green, tree hugger, electric. And so they go, okay, we need to build this lithium mine. Well, they're going to tear down an entire mountain range to do it. I mean, like, you don't just go get precious metals. They're not on the surface. You don't plant a goddamn seed and have it grow up, right? Like, you have to dig down a mile to get to it, right? And you're not doing it with an electric car, okay? You're doing it with a D9 cab, right? So, and dump trucks, and and it's like, but they go, well, no, we want these electric batteries, but no, we don't want you to disturb the earth to dig it up. We just want it. So what do you mean? You want it? Well, how are you going to get this electric battery? Well, I just don't. I was a firm believer that if automobiles created this, put all this shit in the air, you should use the same vessel that created the problem to fix it. And the country, the world has a great opportunity to do that, but they're very short-sighted. So if I believe that the fuel cell is absolutely 1,000% the way to go. Nitrogen is most abundant agent we have in the earth. And you don't have to dig the earth up for it. It comes out of the atmosphere, and you can get it anywhere. And you don't have to rely on Russia or China. And the byproduct of a fuel cell is oxygen and water.
Water, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So why in the hell hasn't the government got behind, hey, if we had all these emissions put into the air for through cars. Why don't we use all these millions of cars to put oxygen back in the air and fix the environment? Electric isn't going to do it. I mean, I've heard all kinds of reports that an electric car, just having the life of one electric battery in one car, what it takes to create that battery and dispose of that toxic waste is the equivalent of a 3/4 ton diesel vehicle running for 80 years.
Wow.
And I absolutely believe it. I don't know if they don't show the mines where they get these 7 precious metals to build these batteries. They don't show you pictures of those. If you've ever flown over Nevada, Arizona, and looked at these mines, these copper mines, as a good example, I mean, they are huge, 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 huge holes in the earth, and it's the same with lithium, cobalt, nickel. Doesn't matter. I mean, you don't just, yeah,
Matt,
you
check this
can't
out.
dig it up with a shovel.
Matt, I literally just Googled lithium strip mine pictures just to show the market the Car Motivators webcast viewers. Look at these.
I'm not lying when I say this.
Yeah. I mean, did you see that?
And
Matt?
I don't.
Did you see that? Literally, I just Googled lithium strip mine pictures. Those used to be mountains, and now they're just holes in the earth.
Yeah.
Massive.
Yeah. So Oregon doesn't want that on their southern border, but they want everyone to drive electric, and could you imagine putting one of those in California? Could you imagine California letting that happen?
They would love that. No, they're like, hey, let the Missourians do that, or the Chinese people, or the Russian people. To your point, well, let's hope the government really figures out, and let's hope the current situation we're in with the chip shortage helps people, gives them the wisdom to not be so dependent on and maybe come up dependent on foreign, I guess you could say supplies or industry to develop what we need. And then, like you said, are there better alternatives that we could adopt here that would be cheaper and better for the environment, and we could still make the transition, right? That's the ultimate question. All right, Matt, let me hit you with a really challenging question. Will the car dealership as we see it now still be in play 5 years from now? And will we have 3 classes of buyers, right? The buyers, the leasers, and the subscribers or rental, the subscription model. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think in my types of area, the rural areas, you're going to have a hard time, even if you have electric cars, whatever, they're still going to break. The brakes are going to go out, the computer's going to go out, they need to be fixed. So I think the dealer body will be there in one way or another. I mean, in my career, I've seen, the manufacturers tried to get rid of the dealers. I mean, Ford went down to Texas and bought up every dealership. I think it was in Dallas or some, huge market, and just lost their ass, because they just didn't realize the value of the dealer network, and they failed numerous times. Tesla's building service facilities now around the country because they realize that their cars will break. I promise them that, and that's really the trick question. My son's very smart. He went to China on in Wall Street he's a finance economic major, and worked for a VC company there doing mergers and acquisitions. He's a smart kid, and he wanted to get back into the business with me. And and I'm like, well, Jake, I mean, I don't know. I mean, our family's been in this business, since 1920 as used car people, and we've been in it over 100 years. I go, shit, do we bail before the industry goes upside down, or how could it? I mean, I've thought about it a lot. When's the right time to exit? I've been probably as successful or more successful in real estate than I have the car business. And I'm like, we can blow this up with somebody that wants to have 150 car dealerships, sell it to them for more money than it's worth, get the hell out and go into passive income without employees, which I've been doing since the 80s, with real estate. And I go, shit, Jake, at what point, but I mean, it's hard to when we made as much money as we did last year, which is 3 times what I've ever done before on half the vehicles. It's like, God, I keep doing those numbers, maybe do it another 10 years, then get out. I don't know. I mean, the question you asked me is one that I've gone over in my head for 20 years. What's the future of the industry? I mean, that's why all my eggs aren't in one basket. And, but I just love this business. I mean, I love coming to work every day. I don't care if it's a grind or we're in a recession. I love it even more because then I can outperform anybody out there, because if nothing else, just attitude alone is going to put you above anybody around you. And I love the grind. I love the problems. I like, I like fixing shit. I like, watching some kid buy his first house and get married. And, it's a way of life I don't know if I'm ready to get rid of.
You seem a lot. We are kindred spirits in the fact that we both have a passion for the industry, and you would miss that part of your life if you were to give it up. I get it. I completely understand. That was the hardest thing for me was walking away from my team and my showroom floor to start my coaching business. So I can relate to that, and especially after the pain you felt in the past of having to lay off the team when you lost the Chrysler Dodge situation, man. I can see why you really value your people and you enjoy those relationships, and it would you'd probably miss out on it, man. Maybe that's the future is the opportunity to tee up one of your future your current managers for future ownership opportunity, or one of your kids?
Yeah, I think my son, he's in Kansas City at NCM I finally am putting him through the dealer management school with NCM. But yeah, I have two of my sons that could actually run the store. When his younger brother gets out of college, I mean, I have a family team that could come and take over the company and run it. So, it's there. It's just, did we roll the dice on the future of the industry? I mean, I don't know. I think that it's going to go electric for a while, and it'll go back to fuel cells. I mean, 2 years ago, we came out with an electric car, and I'm talking to my sales manager. I go, we got 2 Subarus. I go, we don't have any on the lot. We got like 6 cars. I go, they're 250 days in stock. What the hell's going on with these, right? Did I loan them to the University of Oregon for a coach or something? And he's like, there are 2 electric cars. We can't sell an electric car to a Subaru customer in a tree hugger state. I mean, what the hell does that tell you? I mean,
right. Well, and you know what? Even if it did change, Matt, that's a great point. It's like if and think about the states where it's not even as you put it, a tree hugger state. That's a great point. But you know what? Even if it did change, I have no doubt you will adapt. And Matt, so many takeaways that I know that our audience is going to have from this. So if I can just go through them real quick. Number one, community first, man. Put your community first. Do what's best for them, and the loyalty, the relationships will stay with you. Learn from your mistakes. Tenacity, like no matter what adversity you face, it might hurt temporarily, but just never Matt never gives up. Another thing, hire for drive and for morals and values. Another thing too, be involved in the business, and ultimately open, honest communication. focus on your areas of opportunity and have the right attitude, right? So don't look at them as
Yeah.
negatives and become a Debbie Downer. You have so many principles. It's no wonder you've been so successful, Matt. I'm so grateful for your time today.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I will give you one side note. During
Any parting thoughts?
the Great Recession, I would have, you have the bankers, the insurance guys, everyone comes by, sees all the dealers. And during the recession, they'd always come by my store in the afternoon, and they're like going, Jesus Christ. He goes, I always keep your store for last, Matt. And I'm like, why is that? It's like, he goes, I go to all these car dealers, and they go, and I want to slip my wrist at the end of the day, and he goes, I walk in your showroom and the energy is overwhelming. And I go, well, why shouldn't it be? He'll go, fuck, everyone is bitching and pissing and moaning. I go, why they're bitching and pissing and moaning, I'm selling cars. So I'm not going to join into that, woe is me bullshit. I'm gonna change it. So
Amen, man. It's like Winston Churchill said, never miss a chance to capitalize on a good crisis.
that.
Matt Thomas, the owner of Subaru of Bend. It's been a pleasure. I wish you continued success moving forward. I'm Sean Kelly for the Automotive Leaders Winning Culture webcast. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, thank you for the invite, and I wish you much success.
It's been an honor.